and the crack in my heart he had wormed his way into widened further, now a gaping chasm. He was one of the select few in the pack that didn't care about my lack of supernatural powers. He had tried to stand up for me before, speaking out against the others after a particularly horrid prank. But when the pack started to shun him, I'd pleaded with him to stop. I wasn't worth becoming a lone wolf over, that's for sure. "Beggars can't be choosers," I whispered back, wondering if he could hear my wildly thumping heart, given how loudly it hammered in my chest at our nearness. Just a small tilt of my head up, and I could seal our lips together, giving in to what we both so desperately wanted.
"Milo!"
The voice of the Alpha's son echoed through the pit, annoyance clear in his tone. Jameson, the bane of my fucking existence here. He was sex on a stick, the next in line to lead the pack, and an all-around asshole. A soft sigh escaped Milo's mouth as he lifted his head enough to press a feather-light kiss to my forehead before he turned to leave. With one last glance over his shoulder, a sly smirk appeared as he winked at me. With the way my heart fluttered, I knew that I was dangerously close to giving in to whatever this was between us. A girl could only deny herself for so long. My reasons for doing so, for the past few years, suddenly started to fade from the forefront of my brain. I felt drawn to the man. Who wouldn't be, though? He stood well over 6 feet tall, was built like a lumberjack, and had a heart of gold. Running a free hand over my face in frustration, I felt stickiness on my cheek and remembered that traces of the black blood still covered it. Milo had been lucky to escape being marked by the goo. I groaned in realization that I'd have to walk back to my cottage with this smeared on me, as if I needed to give everyone more of a reason to make fun of me. My waist-long, wavy white hair was securely fastened into a bun on the back of my head, safe from the blood at least. It was pretty much the only thing I valued about myself, because it was uniquely mine. Most of the wolves here possessed darker features. Well, besides Jameson, who somehow had identical coloring to me, even though it didn't run in his family. But I liked to ignore the dickwad as much as possible, physically and mentally. So I'd continue to forget that we had anything in common. Life was easier that way. Quickly gathering the rest of my cleaning supplies, I hurried to get out of the pit and back to my cottage. As I climbed the stairs and emerged onto the grassy plain of our land, I reflected back on how different it had been when I first arrived here. The Alpha had found me covered in a thin layer of snow while on a hunt in their territory. He said that he'd originally intended to just keep me with them long enough to make sure I recovered, but his mate, Maya, pleaded with him to not send me away. She'd claimed that I was abandoned and in need of them, that I was meant to find them. She nursed me back to health single-handedly in my first year here. Being so young, I had taken to the wolves with ease, finding the animals soothing. I slowly adapted and found a love for the pack life, thanks to her kindness and affection. My heart panged at just the thought of her. Her death, only a year after I arrived, had changed the pack. Jameson and I had gone out with her in the hundreds of acres of forest in our territory. She would often let us ride on her back in wolf form, showing us all her favorite spots, and we would have picnics in each one. Just the 3 of us. We had been inseparable. A family. On that day, we had been the closest to the edge of our territory we'd ever ventured, but she'd insisted that she had a surprise for me. I had been begging her to see the small waterfall on our land when it was cold enough to freeze over, ever since she'd originally told me about it. That was the day the Daimona appeared. The demons. They were similar in size and shape to a full-grown wolf, but they were completely black and furless. Their skin looked like melted pieces of flesh scarred together, with black spikes protruding from their backs and eyes of fire. The glowing orbs still haunted the corners of my mind when I slept. 5 of them had appeared, and Maya had fought like a warrior. She'd told us to run before shifting and howling for the pack. Too scared to run.